actually, funny funny enough, my son took his first steps in the church building when me and my wife, I was most likely preaching, she was probably upstairs cooking, but we both missed our son walking for the first time. Luckily, somebody in the kids room recorded it and we saw it, but you know, we should have been there. We should have been getting him by the hand and leading him, but
Yeah.
we were just working. We were just working, and I yeah, I didn't understand because my I was full of faith, so I was thinking, let me just preach, let me just do whatever it is for father and mother, so they can bless me and my family. But all the while, my wife was, her heart was burning because she knew that I was missing out a lot with my son.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Finding the Alternative. I'm your host, Adam, 10-year former member of Salt Lake City, Zion. Today, we have a very special guest. Me and him go pretty far back. He was my mentor. He was my teacher for a long time. One of my best friends ever, Erick. I'm sure many people in Salt Lake City know who Erick is. So I'm going to turn the time over to him and let him introduce himself for a couple minutes, and then we will get into this.
Yes. Hey guys, how's it going? First and foremost, I want to say something that yes, I have facial hair, but it is not a sign of being a slanderer. It's not a sign of being evil.
I don't
It's just
know. Just
when
kidding.
little boys grow up, they grow facial hair, and it comes in naturally. So just
Yeah,
don't want to alert anybody, because you may
yeah.
have not seen me with something like this before.
I know they're like,
Um,
who is that? Who is
yeah,
that handsome man?
no, it was said early on that facial hair is a sign of not good things. So, anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I was in the church for 13 years. I got baptized. Me and my wife got baptized in May 1st of 2012, and we left the church April 20th of 2025. So essentially, just about 13 years, but definitely feels like 13, a solid 13 years.
Yeah.
Um, the entire time I was in Salt Lake City, I was in the Salt Lake City
Yeah.
Zion from the office church, which was there, I think, from 2011 to 2015. And in 2015, we moved over to the church building where it's currently located. Um, yeah, I started off when me and my wife started going. It was, I believe, just two families. The overseer, his wife, and her siblings and her mother, I believe, and then another family, which consisted of three female members. So it was very very small when we started going. Um, of course, it felt very strange when we walked in there, but after they show you after you're shown the worldwide Church of God and how the church is all over the world, it's established in so many countries, you feel like, wow, like, okay, so even though here it's in the little strip mall, it's powerful all over the world. Okay, so I'll just overlook this weird detail now. um yeah, I originally grew up Catholic. My entire family was Catholic. um wasn't really practicing. I did my first communion and then I essentially stopped after that. I hadn't gone to church for a long time. Um, I think I went through what a lot of teenagers go through, youth, which is becoming agnostic, becoming atheist. Didn't really know, but figured something was out there. Something was the truth, or there must have been a God or something, because look at what's
For sure.
around us.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah, came into the church. Just didn't really know much about the Bible. Was shown some of the teachings or the prophecies, quote unquote prophecies of the church. And yeah, after that, just got baptized, started joining the preaching activities, the education activities, and yeah, it was off to the races.
Okay. And remind me, when did you become group leader and when did you become deacon? Do you remember?
Yeah, so group leader, gosh, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Yeah, because when I became, I think I completely. It's hard to say because at one point we were all just hanging out, having snacks, talking about the church, and then one
Yeah.
day we just all found ourselves in the overseer's office, and okay, I'm gonna need all of you to, you know, what is your schedule? When are you most likely to preach? We just kind of became workers immediately. Group leader, I believe it would have been about 2018. In 2018, I became the adult male group leader. The group leader before me had left the church. Physically, he was still part of the church when he left, but he had physically left the church. I became a group leader at that time, and I was enrolled shortly thereafter into the pre-theological student program, or the Sengdo, or the cadet,
Hmm.
whatever it goes by these days.
Right.
Um, that was I remember it was July 4th. So even
Okay.
though it was a day to celebrate freedom, I became a pre-theological student.
You
Uh,
became enslaved.
in a way, yeah. And then December of 2020 is when I received the title of deacon. Um, yeah, the pre-theological program essentially put me in a pipeline to ultimately receive the title of deacon. COVID had some change up to the program itself. You just had to get a few evaluations, as well
Yeah.
as completing the other points, and at the end of that, you become deacon.
Cool. So lead me up to you joining the church. So obviously you're preached to. Can you kind of can you walk me through that? Because obviously, like in my situation, it was like a year before I was baptized. I think it was you were a little bit quicker. So walk me through how you're preached to, kind of that overall up to your baptism. Kind of walk me through that.
Yeah. So it was interesting because it was the very first day I was training to become a server at a restaurant at the airport. So it was the first day of training. I was there from the morning time. I got home in the afternoon. At the same time, my wife was at school. She was at the University of Utah. Um, she was actually the first one that got preached to. She was in the library studying, as most students are, and she was approached by a couple, and they spoke to her. They introduced, um, I believe Weezen Wheat, King David, some prophecies, like
Seal
some,
of God. Yeah.
yeah, seal of God. Um, and obviously, I was just at the workplace training. I had come home and I had laid down. I was a little tired that day, so I was laying down literally for like 5 to 7 minutes, and she called me out of the blue. Oh my God, Eric, these people came out of nowhere. They have all the truth. They know all the prophecies. They know this. They know that. At that time, I, like a lot of other people, I think, who were on the internet, started to hear more about like the Illuminati and like a secret society, a cabal of people that are supposedly
Conspiracy theories.
conspiracy theories.
Yep.
So that was going on, and I had actually mentioned before this day, before she got preached to, I had expressed to her, I think we need to find Jesus. Like I think we need Jesus because these are dark times or what have you. While they were preaching to her those subjects, she asked them, "Oh, my husband is very nervous these days about the devil. Like he wants to know who the devil is. Do you guys know who the devil is?" And of course, they were immediately excited because they thought Daniel's prophecy. Yes, please come today and study with us. So she called me, very excited. She said, "Eric, Eric, 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 come." They talked to me about this. They talked to me about that, and they actually know who the devil is. And of course, that my ears perked up, and I thought, okay, let's see what it's about. She got home. We had made the plan to go, but it's actually funny when I think about it now. Uh, this was funny in the beginning as well, but this is like a very interesting. It's very interesting now that I think about it. I was very nervous to go. I did not want to go because I was a little paranoid. I was thinking, where did these people come from? How do they know that who the devil is? And how would they know that? What is that? Why was that something that they were extremely excited to talk to us about? So begrudgingly, I was getting dressed. We were talking. We got into the car, but the entire time, I was, really second guessing the decision to go. We got to the plaza, the little strip mall where the church was at. It was a little
Hmm.
office space.
Yep.
Um, I saw the person teaching the Bible, and they looked like a regular guy. He looked like an LDS missionary, a little bit older. And we went in, saw that it was a small place. Um, we chit chatted for a little bit, and then he asked me the question, "Okay, do you want to know who is the Antichrist or who is the devil?" Sure, let's do it. And we went to the Bible. We went to the Bible study room. Again, I was still paranoid. So if you know Daniel's prophecy, towards the beginning, it says, "If you don't tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will cut you into pieces. I'll turn your houses into piles of rubble."
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, that was it. That's the word. We got to get out of here." Um, his wife had brought in some juice and cookies, and I told myself, I am not drinking that juice. I don't know what's in there. I'm not doing it.
Not
It
drinking that
was
Kool-Aid.
I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid. It was obviously just cookies and juice.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But the deacon that at that time was he just said, "Okay, I guess it's time for you to drink that juice." And I was just super nervous the entire time. We finished the Bible study. Amazing, because we didn't know any better, but we thought our hair was blown back. We were in shock. We were amazed. We left the church. We drove away thinking like, "Oh wow, we just joined the church. We just joined the church." And um, it's interesting because we didn't actually respond to their messages for like a couple weeks.
Hmm.
And then, you know, uh, we had some awkward events happen around that time. They reached out one more time, and we said, "Okay, let's go." I think God's giving us a sign to go back. And then, a few more studies, learned about Aung San Hong, learned about the existence of Mother, and we got baptized.
So when you got baptized, did they pull the well, now you know the truth, and if you leave not knowing the truth, I'm
Yes.
not saying something's going to happen to you, but what if, right? They plant that what if
Mhm.
seed. Did they do that to you?
Yes, they did. It did.
They
We
gotcha.
had, yeah, we probably arrived that day to the church at like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 p.m. And we stayed until 11 p.m. So it was late. And, being asked the question, okay, now that you know who's the second coming, now you know the truth that we have to offer you, now you should be baptized. And I thought to myself, it's 11 at night. I think everybody who was here is gone. It's just us two, you and your wife. Like, how are we gonna do this? And I did mention I would like to put it off for a few days. Maybe let me talk to my family about it and just ponder the idea. Think
Right.
about this huge decision we're about to make. And then
Exactly. Yeah.
the immediate Bible study, the go-to Bible study after that is be baptized immediately. And
Hmm.
after that, we just thought, okay, fine, why not? Let's be baptized.
Tomorrow's not promised to anybody. What if you die and you had a chance to keep the Passover and get baptized, but you wanted to put it off.
Yeah, it worked.
So
It worked.
it always works.
Hmm.
Well, not always, but most of the time it works. So
I have a testimony that it does not always work.
fair
Thankfully,
enough.
thankfully, some people, uh, you know, have the wits about them, and yeah, they made the right decision.
They just bolt.
Yeah.
So you're in the church now. You're baptized, and this is kind of my experience a little bit too. Is they pitch Passover. You keep Passover, but you want to keep Passover rather, but you have to be baptized right first. And so they kind of want you to be. They say you want to be protected from disaster, right? World War III or whatever's going to happen, what they say at the time. And then they hold Passover in front of you, and they're like, "You want to keep Passover, right, to be protected?" And you're like, "Yes," but obviously it's a bait and switch. Okay, well, you need to get baptized, right?
Mhm.
So when you got baptized, were you under the impression that you were just had to keep Passover and that's it?
Yeah, it was obviously I had no idea about anything else that the church conducted. Um, Literally, it was just the ceremony of the Passover. I was
Right.
told literally, you can eat it right now, you can drink it right now, and
You're
that's
good.
all. Yeah, I was good. That's all I knew. That's all we were told. So yeah, we thought, wow, okay, we can just have salvation right here, right now at 11 p.m. at night, and we're good. Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
So obviously that wasn't the case. So explain to me your process of your church life. Um, you know, obviously some get thrown right into the thick of it and they start keeping all the services, preaching, everything like that. Some take a little bit of time. How was your experience?
So actually, earlier that year, we had bought tickets to go to Hawaii. So
Nice.
we were a young couple, me and my wife. We had made the plan to go, and it kind of dawned on us that okay, you might be a little bit more busy as of now. They're inviting you, they want to hang out with you, they want to spend time with you. You feel like you're like the new people, so they're giving you a lot of attention.
Yep.
Um, so we said, okay, maybe let's cancel our trip to Hawaii. Let's not go. Let's just we'll go next year or something like that. And we ultimately ended up canceling that trip. I believe we used some of the credits, but a large chunk of those, the credit that we had with the airline just disappeared, and we just kind of lost that money. Um, we also had made a plan to go to. So we were baptized in between first and second Passover, literally like smack dab in between the two.
Okay.
So shortly after being baptized, we kept second Passover,
Right.
and obviously, after second Passover, that's when the rest of the spring feasts are get prepared. So
Yes.
we're in the church hanging out. We do buy tickets to go to Las Vegas during the feast. So they don't say anything to us. They don't raise any objection.
Right.
They're kind of quiet. Actually, we went to. They told us there is a church in Las Vegas. So even though you go on your trip, don't worry about it. We got a church there. We thought, awesome, great. We get there. We keep the Sabbath day. The Feast of Pentecost is that Sunday. We keep the morning worship, and then we leave for the rest of the day. And I remember some people being like, "You're leaving to where?" And we were like, "Oh, the strip."
We're
And
not
their
from
eyes
here.
just, "We're not from here. Like, there's a reason why we're here." And yeah, they made their eyes like, "Oh, okay, well, be safe and take care." Um, Actually, on that trip, I had heard about them keeping 5 a.m.s. So I got to speak to the person that led us to baptism, and I asked him, "Hey, there's 5 a.m.s, or what is this thing about 5 a.m.s?" And the person at that time told me, "Oh yeah, yeah, we do 5 a.m.s during the feast." But
That's weird. He didn't tell you
yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning.
I don't know. It was really small and probably didn't want to scare us away. But yeah,
Fair
he had
enough.
told us, "Oh, we keep 5 a.m.s, just so you know." Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep them next time. And obviously, been keeping 5 a.m.s ever since that time. Um, yeah. So yeah, that was right at the very beginning. We got back, and there was always something going on in the church. Even though it was really small, there was always something going on. Either Bible studies throughout the week. We would join for dinner. We would hang out and just socialize on the Sabbath day. Around that time, they had short terms coming in and out. Missionaries and deacons from the San Diego. So Salt Lake I don't know if you mentioned already, Salt Lake City was a branch off of Santee, San Diego. There's a
That's
San
true.
Diego branch church. So they established Salt Lake. So a lot of the people that came to Salt Lake were members from San Diego.
That's right.
Um, so got to meet with them, got to talk with them, let us know, hey, you guys are very young right now, but you guys are going to be really important going forward. So yeah, just stick with it and don't get tired and just go forward. And I was like, what does it mean? What do they mean? Don't get tired. Stick with it. I didn't get it, but later on it made sense. Um,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, the leader in the church at that time started to ask the some of the members to join for special education or to begin to ask about preaching times, when you can preach, when you're available, if you would like to. And it just turns out that a lot of the most of the members were youth. We were, in our early 20s.
Yeah.
Um, I think a couple of us were university students, so we had reason to go to the University of Utah, Slick, and just preach there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was, you know, I believe the first time I went preaching is because I requested it. I wanted to go preaching. I remember how surprised, how amazed I was at hearing Daniel's prophecy, and I thought to myself, "This is the only subject that we should be talking about. Anything else is essentially a waste of time, So we should just focus on this." And
Yeah.
yeah, you know, just joined more and more and more, met more and more people, and yeah, it just started to grow up a little bit more. We would have one-on-one conversations. I need you to be. At that time, my Spanish was really bad. Right now, it's not the best, but it was really bad. But since I was the youthful one that was studying and learning, I was told, because of this talent you have, we're gonna need you to be the Spanish teacher for everybody that comes in that wants to study in Spanish or can only speak Spanish. So
Right.
we had this new level of responsibility that me and my wife had. She also speaks Spanish, so we were always kind of ready to either translate or learn a subject and just relay it for somebody. Um, yeah, and then yeah, we just continued.
So usually in the beginning, right, it's, you feel happy to be there. You feel like you have a purpose. You feel like you're, um, they always have this saying, right, in Revelation, they're like, remember your first love, right? Then they'll show you the verse, right? Don't forget your first love. Try to remember your first love, like when you first came in. Um, I find that's kind of difficult because when you first came in, you didn't know everything that was going to be asked of you from up front. And so your first love is based off, oh, God just lets me keep the Passover, right? And that's it. So,
Yeah,
but then now you have all these stresses now, right? You have all these different things that you're taking upon yourself to do, that you didn't know was going to be asked of you later. So in the beginning, did you get, I mean, I guess, were you enjoying going to the church? Were you enjoying the Bible studies? Were you enjoying preaching? Or did it get old really fast?
no, man, I really, really, really loved it. I was a big, big fan of the church in the beginning. Everything was just so novel. Everything was so new. I'd never understood the Bible in the way that they were showing me. Um,
Right.
I had never dedicated that much time for God. Um, I immediately thought, okay, so this is amazing. I'm not going to keep it to myself. Like I said, I requested to go preaching and I wanted to share with my family. So I shared it, uh, you know, to my siblings one by one by one. And I was a big crier too. So, when one sibling would be baptized, I would be shedding crazy tears. And then another sibling, the same thing. And another one, and then my mom, and then my dad, and then a bunch of family members. But I was always the one that was like emotional because I really believed it. Because I really,
Right.
really, was thankful, was really happy and joyful, and it was just the how novel it was, how new it was. I was enamored. with the church. I was blown away by everybody. Every missionary or every deacon, every brother I ran into was like amazing. They were like giants to me.
Yeah.
And it really, yeah, obviously you're told as well with in regards to preaching, you're told that you'll be hated. People hated Jesus, so why wouldn't they hate you? No one is greater than his master. They don't know God. The Pharisees, so even being rejected to your face, you're still happy. You're still joyful. You're still, going on. So whether it was a good preaching experience or a bad preaching experience, um, learning
You
Bible
felt good about
studies,
it.
I felt great about it. I felt great about it. So yeah, it was. So whenever I hear somebody say like, "Remember your first love," for me it's very vivid how it was in the beginning.
Yeah. So walk me through. Um, Obviously, you became a parent, right? Walk
Mhm.
me through that because from I guess my experience and also the experience of others, typically, when you're a youth and you're married, typically they want you to stay like that. They don't really want you to have kids because they want you to be able to go other places and devote yourself wholeheartedly to the church,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So when you became a parent, did you feel like you were treated differently when you became, or at least like in the pregnancy stages? I mean, too, because obviously you have to tell the overseer, hey, by the way, we're expecting, right? I
Yeah.
don't know why you have to tell the overseer that, but you do. Um, so were you treated? Did you feel like you were treated a different way when obviously you broke the news to the overseer that hey, you were actually expecting?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually remember like clearly how that happened. So obviously when we were in there, there were none of the youth were parents. We spent the first few years just being youth, literally myself and my wife. And you just didn't see kids like that. You didn't see children. Um, and we were just every in 2012, the end of the world feeling was very, it was palpable. Like it was very heavy. It was this feeling that was just very present. Every Bible study ended with the end. Every Bible study was so now these last days, these last days, these last days. It was an emphasis with every Bible study,
Yeah,
and it was something that was specific for that particular year. Obviously, we know why, but after that, it died off. So, but it tapered off, right? So 2013, it was the same feeling. 2014, same feeling. It was the year of Jubilee. So
yep,
we were just wholeheartedly preparing in our hearts and minds to receive Father, right? To be in Zion, to receive Ansang Hong and Heavenly Mother. So
right,
with because that was the mood of the church at that time, children was the last thing I thought about. I didn't. Everybody around us, my wife's family, my family were like, "When are you gonna have children? When is it gonna happen?" And I would just turn away. I wouldn't even play with the idea because we're focusing on going to heaven, right?
yeah.
Uh,
The world's gonna end any minute, so what's the point?
yeah. What's the point? Like, actually, even though it was, this is the thing. Even though there was no sermon saying let's not have kids, it was
Yeah.
very clear that that was the mood of the church. There was a member who he came into the church with his wife. That member actually had a few sisters that they all came in together.
Hmm.
And shortly after coming, he and his wife became pregnant. They were expecting a child, and he was an older man than me. I was a kid at that time, and I told him, "Bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're going to heaven. Why are you having kids? It's right before the end."
Yep.
And he looked at me like shocked, like why I would say that. Funny, because years later, he would every time he would see me, he would always bring it up. Hey, remember when you said why are you having kids and now you have two? Isn't that weird? So he rightfully so he threw it back in my face multiple times, but that was just the the mood of the church. So um thank thankfully when me and my wife realized that we were expecting, um it was a really happy moment. I was very joyful, because I love my wife. I had in my heart that wow, this is a child of love. This is going to be a child of nurture, of care. He's going to have good family on both sides. We have this church that is super loving and caring. um, this is going to be the most blessed child, right? So um, when I first told the overseer at that time, which this would have been 2015, we had just finished preaching at Slick, Salt Lake Community College, and me and him were waiting in the van, waiting for the other preachers to get to the van, and it was just me and him. He was on his phone, focused about something, and it was a little awkward actually. But I turned to him and I said, "Hey, um, I want to let you know, uh, me and my wife are expecting. We're gonna have, we're expecting a child." He didn't even. He looked up at me. He said, "Oh, really?" And just went back to his phone.
Wow.
At that time, I was like, "Oh, he must be having a bad day, or he must something happened to him, and he's got to resolve it on his phone." He was usually a really happy guy, really joyful, always has a smile, always greets you. So he's naturally like a caring, happy guy. But when it was just me and him in the van, and I had told him that, just no reaction, just no reaction. Um,
It's weird.
it was like I interrupted something that he really important he was doing on his phone, and looked up. Oh, yeah, okay, and looked back down. And yeah, I just didn't give it too much thought. Probably should have, but yeah, I just moved on from there. And yeah, um, sometime later as well, when I believe me and my wife made the plan. I'll tell the overseer, you tell the overseer's wife. So my wife told the overseer's wife. By the way, the overseer and his wife at that time, who were leading Salt Lake, they didn't have children. So I think this is important to the story. But um, my wife tells the overseer's wife that she's expecting and that she's pregnant. And the response that she received from the overseer's wife was, "Really? What are you gonna do about it?"
What does that mean? What are
She
you
was
gonna do? Like typically you're like, oh, congratulations! Like when's the due date? How far along? But what does that response imply?
yeah, I think it's pretty clear when we see so many people's cases. But the I think she tried to explain herself after, but it just got worse. She said,
Too late.
yeah, she said, "Well, I know that the missionary, or sorry, the overseer, he has a lot of plans for Eric, and I know he's trying to raise him up and trying to make him a good leader. So what do you think? What do you think?" So
Again, what does that imply? Like that's not. Oh man, I'm sorry, dude. That's not.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how many I don't know how many times these examples have been said over the years, but yeah, they are not. The church these days has attempted to change their ways, but it is not a church that, or an organization that really favors families and
They
children.
appear to. That they appear to have a family like centered around a family nucleus, right? But that's not how an actual church that values families would respond to such a thing. Um, and I remember too, and maybe if this was a thing for you, obviously if it wasn't, then don't make it a thing for you. But I remember when I first talked to the overseer and we told him that we were expecting as well our oldest daughter. I remember feeling like ashamed of, like, almost like I let the church down or I let the overseer down because I'm having a kid.
Mhm.
Um, Granted, I was never asked like, "What are you going to do with it?" or something like that, but I just remember that was kind of the vibe of the church. Was I felt like I let God down. I felt like I let my church down. I felt like I let my overseer down, telling him that I'm going to be a dad.
Mhm.
Did you ever feel like that?
I mean, we didn't tell people. We weren't rejoicing. You know, towards the beginning, for a few months before she showed, it wasn't something that we would bring up or talk about. Obviously, when she got to the point where she started to show, and the members, out of their goodness, out of their right mind, would start to say, "Oh, congratulations! I'm so excited. I'm gonna be an auntie. I can't wait to see him," and pinch his little cheeks. But that's coming from the lay members, the ones that we would speak with and be with and um,
Yeah,
get along with, preach with. So we received a lot of compliments from them, and yeah, apart from that, it was not something that we were boasting about. Something that we were encouraging. Definitely not.
yeah. And to be fair, I don't blame the overseer, and I don't blame the overseer's wife for acting that way. I believe it comes from just being indoctrinated. I believe it comes from being brainwashed by this organization. Because even myself, I was brainwashed too. I remember with our youngest, our son. I remember when Kayleen said that she was pregnant with our son. I remember, and it hurts my heart to this day to even like talk about it or think about it. But I was the stigma like around me because I already had two kids, right? Three is like, whoa, like what are you doing, And so I almost remember asking her like the same thing, like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna keep it, right? Now thinking back on it, I am horrified that I had that thought initially because my son is like the happiest, healthiest little boy, and I think back on that and it makes me shudder that that was my
Yeah,
mindset towards my own child,
yeah,
that I would have, because it inconvenienced the church or would inconvenience me in the gospel, that I even had the thought to even think of such a thing. um
yeah, yeah. We would tell ourselves before when we were full of faith or what have you. Yeah, if we ever even if it happens, we'll talk about what happened, what we'll do. We'll talk about it. Of course, when the time came and we actually were expecting a child, we were super happy and we were excited to become
that's good.
parents.
That's awesome.
Um, but before, I have to, looking back now, I have to ask myself, where did this thought come from? Like, why did I think that way?
Right.
Why was that even an option to terminate or to not go
Yeah.
through with the pregnancy?
Well, I'm really glad that you guys had. I mean, and I'm not saying I wasn't full of joy. Outside, I was full of joy, but when I had to present it to the overseer and stuff, I felt ashamed and stuff. But I mean, obviously, I don't regret my children. I love my children. I'm very glad that nothing happened, and we're family, and I'm a dad and everything. But I think it's good to address that because there's so many that probably have that are going through that sort of situation too, and this is why we address it, because at the end of the day, this is a very reactive church. So hopefully, if anything, they'll change and they'll adapt and they'll not be so, you know, will save lives. Literally, I feel like if they get rid of that um,
Yeah,
vibe, they get rid of that
yeah.
system, that whatever you want to call it. Um, so so you're a parent. How was balancing the church life and the parenthood, because obviously the men have it different
Hmm.
than the women, right? The women have it far, far worse than we could ever imagine. So kind of walk me through that a little bit.
So yeah, if you remember, we sat next to each other during the sermons, but Noah's family was blessed not because they're righteous, but because of Noah's righteousness. Because of who
Right.
Noah was, his family could be blessed, right? His
Right.
sons, his wife, his sons' wives. Um, so through the righteousness of Noah, they could be blessed. In the same way, we were taught. I was taught because of your gospel work, because of what you do, because of your sacrifice. Your wife will be blessed. Your child will be blessed. Your family will be blessed. Sounds nice. Sounds really amazing. But the reality is, it means late nights in the church.
Yeah.
Leave, right after work, come to the church, join a preaching meeting, or do a Bible study that somebody had confirmed. Um, on the weekends, Sabbath day,
Yeah.
obviously, we're there all day. Sunday, a large chunk of the afternoon is dedicated to the church. So
Of course.
Tuesday, we have third day evening worship. So really, out of the week, in a week's time, I would just see my children at night, my child at night, and my wife was she really years later she would tell me that she really suffered in silence. She kept it to herself because she heard the same sermon that through the head of the household's sacrifice, the family will be blessed. Even though she needed help getting the kids ready, even though she wanted to spend time with the child, um, even though she wanted to, as parents, take the child to the playground and to speak with them, to talk with them. A lot of the early years, the developmental years of my son's life, I spent it the majority in the church,
Yeah.
doing something, teaching or preaching or just being there late. Um, yeah, and actually, funny funny enough, my son took his first steps in the church building when me and my wife, I was most likely preaching, she was probably upstairs cooking, but we both missed our son walking for the first time. Luckily, somebody in the kids room recorded it and we saw it, but you know we should have been there. We should have been getting him by the hand and leading him, but
Yeah.
we were just working. We were just working, and I yeah, I didn't understand because my I was full of faith, so I was thinking, let me just preach, let me just do whatever it is for father and mother, so they can bless me and my family. But all the while, my wife was, her heart was burning because she knew that I was missing out a lot with my son.
Yeah. I think your wife wanted to hang out with you too. I
Yes,
mean,
yeah, she
I
needed
think she
help.
missed you too. um, yeah. So that whole it's not conducive for the family structure. It just really isn't.
Hmm.
They can paint it any way that they want, but if you're a parent and you're in there and you're considered a gospel worker or a leader, it's not conducive. It's no way. Um, so when you were in the church, you obviously bore, from what I remember, you bore 10 talents. At least that's what you told me back in the day. That you're like, I'm the only one that bore 10 talents.
Yeah,
So that was probably the
sounds
highlight.
like me.
um, but obviously, like over the years, right, you see certain things, right? There's fruit that you bear that just disappear. They don't come to anything. And also it gets more tiresome, right? It's almost like you almost lose sight of, because there's so many like false alarms in that place. There's so many uh goalposts that you have to try and reach, and so many preaching festivals that you're just constantly just go, 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 go. So kind of walk me through, was there ever a time where you're just like, what am I doing here? Like, what is the purpose of this?
Yeah. Uh, in the beginning, you know, when you're just, and actually, this is like it's like a phenomenon in the church. I like to think about it that way. The newer somebody is, and the less they know, the more fruit they bear. It just
That
turns
is
out.
true.
It just turned out the less they know, and the more fervent they are, the more success that they have.
It's
So
true.
in the beginning, I knew almost nothing. I just knew it was fervent, and of course, my siblings got baptized. My family got baptized. I would bear a fruit maybe literally like once a month, and I would like love them so much. I because we hear so many times mother's love, um, is in bearing fruit, is in preaching and leading people souls to salvation. And father's love is also preaching the gospel. So you should do the what father and mother want you to do. So the people that would come, it would be amazing. It would be okay. Now I realize God's love, right? Um, and it was nice seeing them grow up, seeing them start to learn, seeing them start to raise themselves up and become many gospel workers. And yeah, as time, as time goes by, little by little, their lives just weren't really conducive to the church life to be gospel workers. So they would start to study, they would get important jobs, they would move a little bit farther, and the fruit that I would bear just little by little would start to leave, would start to just disappear. And
Yeah.
it was never like they ran to some insistence at the door and they couldn't answer it correctly or something like that. It was just,
Hmm.
this is it's irrelevant. This is a kind of it's a nice hobby, this church, but this is not the end all be all. I think they
Yeah.
recognized before, unfortunately, they recognized before I did, family is what matters. My wife is what matters. My child is what matters. My education, my income, what I'm doing to build myself up. This is what matters. So it just, to me, it was really devastating to see the people that I worked so hard and I preached, all that I could of Ansang Hong and Heavenly Mother, and to just see people leave was really tough. It was really hard to witness, and I would just tell myself, well, for whatever reason they left, and just continue. But I don't know. It was for me personally. I just couldn't. It was really hard on my heart. So I would preach diligently, really, really faithfully. Now that I'm a little bit older and have a little bit more knowledge, and just the fruit would not come. It just would not come, and it was not something that I don't know. I always thought this is a God's amazing truth, but it's just flying by everybody. Everybody,
Right.
even people who gave it a little bit of interest, it's flying by them. I didn't understand, and uh, some large long I'm one of those people that wouldn't bear fruit like all the time later in the later years. I I think 2018, yeah, 2018, I preached to a young family with a young child, and they were really nice, really personable. Like I really got along with them, and they were a little bit on the more humble end, so they weren't affluent. They didn't have great jobs. They didn't have tons of money. They didn't have a bunch of time. They didn't have rides all the time to get to the church. And I saw that their life was a little difficult. This member, he had um, his mother had a health emergency, or she actually had cancer. She was getting
Hmm.
treatment, and he asked me if he can share with the church essentially a GoFundMe so we can fund her getting cancer treatment.
Right.
And by that time, you already know there's no
Yeah.
way we can ask the church for money for this person.
Right.
Um,
That's a no-no.
I brought it up to the overseer, and okay, maybe just the adult, maybe just our group, maybe just our group can donate. I think a couple of us, maybe two, maybe three people gave to him, and he was rightfully so angry because what do we tell ourselves? We're family. We're closer than family. We're spiritual family.
Yep.
We've been destined to be together since before the creation. But to say, oh, your mom's sick and you're asking us for help, but I'm telling you no, and only a few of us helped out, he saw right through us. He saw right through us before I noticed. And yeah, I took that really, he left, just didn't want to have anything to do with us anymore. And I thought to myself, I thought I don't want to grumble, God, but why would you like? Why is this happening? I worked really, really hard for that fruit. I worked really, really diligently, and I prayed a lot for those people to come, for them just to leave because of some rule that is here. And yeah, from that time on, it became very difficult to, you know, be really excited about preaching. And then you'd hear about people coming, and then they would leave because of slander, the internet,
Like what we're doing?
and like what we're doing right now,
Slandering?
slandering. By the way, slander means lies. This is not lies. This is what real life. Um,
That's subjective.
so yeah, it just became very, very difficult to continue to do the gospel work, and yeah, it started to weigh on me more and more, year after year.
Was that the family in Blackfoot? Because me and you bore fruit in
Yes. Oh
Blackfoot.
yeah, I remember.
Is that them?
No, it was the family that lived. Initially, they lived at Shadowbrook Apartments on
Okay, I
Redwood
remember
Road.
that. Yeah, I remember that.
Um, Hispanic guy, Caucasian female, that little
Yeah,
child. They moved.
I think I
Ultimately,
remember
they
that.
ended up moving to Vineyard, right? They were Vineyard, then the Vineyard Church for a while.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They were sweet. I remember they were a really sweet couple.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Hope they're doing well.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Um, so basically, and many people would probably say, "Oh, see, Eric, you didn't bear fruit for a while. You know what happens when you don't bear fruit? You get chopped off and left for kindling."
Yeah.
But obviously, that's completely out of context. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, if it's difficult to preach with, random verses stuck together and just really like making people fear more than recognize the love of God and the love of Christ, yeah, it's difficult to preach bear fruit that way.
yeah, at least fruit that will last, right? That's the one they care about.
Yeah,
Um, and in my opinion, what it means fruit that will last is fruit that will tithe. That's what I found that to mean.
that's a talent.
Um, yeah, exactly. So you're kind of, you're still doing it. You're still going through it. Obviously, you're on my channel now. So walk me through kind of okay. You might have been in a rut, if you will, or a dry spell, as we would say. So what made you decide to finally, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm done.
So while the fruit that I had bore started to leave, um, gospel workers, like we can say powerful gospel workers, like really faithful members of the church, were also leaving.
Yeah.
Somebody that was there before I was, the person that preached to me, the person that led me to baptism, he left,
Hmm.
and numerous people started to leave. Everybody was just
Right.
disappearing, and we're always told don't talk to. They usually leave when they would leave our Zion, my Zion. So when they would leave the church I was at, typically that's when they would leave. But because we can't speak to any of them because we're not supposed to uh, commingle or talk or reach out, you hear about it after the fact. And then, oh, that person that taught you about God, he left the church. Or that brother that was preaching with you and bore fruit with you, he's gone. Um, the deacon that was in your church, he's gone too. And we're never supposed to ask what happened. We're never supposed to know why they left. And
Right.
we're never supposed to reach out to them. And, I guilt it was heavy on me, but I never did. I almost never did.
Yeah.
I would never reach out to them because I was told not to. I would never worry
Right.
about them because they said, Father, Mother will take care of them. You worry about bearing fruit. And after a while, I just felt very guilty. Uh, there's a deacon that both me and you know, that was, led us and was
Very close to us.
the pastoral staff in Salt Lake City, Utah, for a
Yeah.
long time. He left, and this is somebody that I was a roommate with, and somebody that I preached with, and somebody that I had meals with, spent a bunch of time with, and he's gone. And I'm not supposed to reach out to him. I hate that I never allowed myself to, but I didn't. And yeah, it was that combining with the people that I brought leaving, it just became, dreadful. It was really dreadful. Actually, I had one uh, about the couple that we were talking about. It was right before service, and I had been thinking about them like continuously. And it was right before, like maybe 5 minutes before service. Um, I went upstairs. Everybody was down in the sanctuary, but I ran upstairs because I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. I went upstairs to the bathroom and I just like wept. I just cried because the people who I had worked hard for, dedicated a lot of time to, just disappeared for no reason. So yeah, I don't know. I really love the people in the church. So when they would disappear, and I wouldn't talk
It
to them,
hurt.
it hurt terribly. So yeah, I carried that on myself for a long time. I would always ask, hey, has anybody heard about that deacon or that brother or what's going on with them? Like, how are they? And mostly everybody wouldn't know because they don't reach out. And then I
Right.
remember you actually ultimately leaving. Obviously, I remember the situation occurring where first it was your wife that left and
Yeah.
you were still coming around. And obviously, I remember that one day when I said, Adam, do you want to talk? And we spoke a little bit. You shared about what had been going on.
Right.
Yeah, and you had mentioned some things. You ultimately had told me that it was Kayleen that had actually sent out the
The
that
message. Yep.
the message. I was really surprised. I was like, "What, Kayleen?" Never would have thought it was her in a million years. Um, and I think we just ended like, "Okay, well, let's. I'm here for you. Let's talk anytime." Da da da. Uh, like a little while after that is when you actually stopped coming.
Yeah.
Um, you stopped coming, and everything that I had mentioned like just came rushing to my mind. I didn't talk to anybody. I kicked myself over it. What's this invisible thing keeping me from like talking to these people that I know? Um, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna say, hey, Adam, how's it going? How are you? So I reach out to you, and thankfully you responded. We made the plan to meet up, and I was like, yeah, yeah, let's meet up. I want to help your faith. I want to bring you back. I want to like give hope for your family. I said this to myself, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna be the superhero right now and help you out.
Absolutely.
Uh, so we ended up meeting up later, about a few days later, maybe a week later, and I had asked you, okay, Adam, let's hear it. What's going on? And I do remember you asking me, hey, we can have dinner, we can catch up, we can say what's up, and let that be it, okay? But if you want me to talk to you about what I want to talk to you about, just tell me, and we will. And of course, again, in my confidence, I said, yeah, let's talk about it. And obviously, that's when everything started to come out. But at that time, I think people know, but when you're in the cult, when you're in the mindset of trying to help somebody else, and you're in the mindset of I have the truth, because I
Yeah.
have the truth, anything apart from what I'm saying has to be an attack against the truth.
Yeah. And I'm the
So
sick one. I'm the sick dead one.
you are the sick dead one. So there's nothing you could possibly say to me to bring me down, because I have the truth.
Right.
And I remember you, you bringing up, An Sang Hong is not really who he was. Uh, Zhang Gilja is not who we is not really who we say she is. And everything else that we discussed that day, and
There was a lot.
like it was bouncing off my ears. It was nothing was. I wasn't grasping anything, because all I would say is, well, what about the prophecies of Root of David, or what about Daniel's prophecy? What about King David? What about coming from the east? Or who's if it's not An Sang Hong, if he's not the second coming, then who is?
What's your alternative?
What's the alternative? Is if it's not
Trademark pending. Just kidding.
if it's not this church, then who is it? And yeah, I remember just us just talking and going back and forth. Um, the biggest difference is this from our conversation. The biggest difference is this: you knew everything that I knew, but you knew more about the background of the church. I only knew about the church. I had no idea what you were talking about. So to me, nothing was sticking. Nothing was making sense. You may have
Right.
well been speaking Chinese or something, Korean. You should have been speaking Korean at that moment. Um, and I remember your wife showed up with the kids, and I thought, okay, well, this is it. Adam's gone. He's a goner. Dang, this is really sad. I tried, God. I tried to bring back your son. I remember I said bye to Kayleen, and I remember I hugged your kids. I hugged all
Yeah.
three of them like a big bear hug, and I thought to
Yeah.
myself, I'm sorry, little ones. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I tried. Um, and then yeah, left, and I thought to myself, well, we'll see what happens. Who knows? He might come back. The thought that the thing that everybody says, they'll come back. If it's God's will, they'll come back. Um, but that was a September, I think September of last year, 2024.
Correct.
And
About a year ago.
yeah, and like I never stopped thinking about that encounter we had. I was always thinking about it, always thinking about it. And um, yeah, I remember I had confided in a member, like, hey, bro, just so you know, I tried to get Adam back. I met with him, I talked to him, and he's talking crazy stuff, man. I don't know what's wrong with him. And I was sharing with him what happened, but he ended up uh, telling on me to the overseer. And I
Sounds
was
about
like,
right.
yeah, I was like, okay, okay. And the overseer wanted to speak with me, hey, so what happened? What'd you guys talk about? And I just explained, oh yeah, missionary, I explained to him everything. He's a goner. He's talking crazy stuff. Like, I don't even know what's wrong with him. But that was just to kind of get the heat off of me and then just move on. But I had been thinking, oh, something, oh, I need to message him. I'm going to message him. I'm going to message him and just be like, okay, Adam, tell me the top 5 reasons why you can't come back. Tell me the top 3 reasons why you can't come back. Like, give me like the real, for sure word why you can't come back. To me, looking back now, I was ready to hear like a strong argument against the church. But I would psych myself out and say, no, no, what could he say? I had fear. I feared that you would say something that would be too strong, but I just never did it. Um, now we get to March of this year. I think
Yeah.
March 2nd of 2025. I remember that because that's the day your Great Life Studios interview dropped. And I'm sure you have the same experience, but for years, if any interview of ex members, ex WMSCOG popped up, I will scroll past it as quick as possible.
Me too.
I do not, ignore, don't show me ads like this, don't show me ads from this channel. So I would
Absolutely.
just skip them. I wouldn't even pay any attention.
Right.
Um,
Totally.
but when I saw yours, I had never clicked on a video so quickly. I clicked on your video like the fastest I had ever done it, and I just crushed the whole interview. I watched the entire thing. It was on a Monday, um, and now that I had time to process the things that we had spoken about back in September, and I had been thinking about the reasons why I shouldn't come back or why you wouldn't come back. When I listened to your interview, it all just came crushing down. Everything from the three chapters, labeling everybody on the internet as slanderers, um, just putting this thing in our mind that we can't think for ourselves. Um, how somebody as sweet as your wife Kayleen is stating something as factual, but at an education before it was known that it was her, um, somebody who's demon possessed, someone who's evil, wants to share these things.
Intentional murderer is what she
And
was called.
so I thought to myself,
That's a pretty wild accusation.
intentional murder. And then I realized I was like, everything that was from that message, I was one of the recipients of that text. Nothing was false about that. There was
Not the
nothing
thing.
fake about that. So where's the slander? Where's the evil? Where's the demon possessed? And during your video, I it was an active deconstruction. As I watched your video, everything just came tumbling down. And yeah, I realized, oh my goodness, oh my God, he's right. The link to your channel was on that video, so I went to your channel. I watched the intro to your channel. I watched like one or two videos after that, and just with simple explanations, what you had mentioned in those first few videos, I was just crushed. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking to myself, how paper thin is what we teach? It's a house of cards. It's a house of
Absolutely.
cards. It's so fragile. Of course, they would. I remember when I first watched the In Heaven videos, right?
Yep.
The play in Korea where they had
Yeah.
playing members were playing in Angels in Heaven. Part two, this was early on, early on. Uh, it was when they were on Earth, and I believe one of the members, it's a female. She says, "Hey, should we see what people say about Mother on the internet?" And a sister gets next to her. No, sister, we're not supposed to go on the internet. And I remember telling myself, that's weird. That's weird. But because we have Passover and we have the Sabbath day and we have the feast, we know the second coming, we know God the Mother, I just pushed it to the back of my mind.
Right.
But when I watched your interview and I watched some of your videos, it just clicked into place. And I realized, of course, that's why they demonize the internet. That's why they make us fear that we are risking our souls in hell if we ever listen to anything contrary to the church. And when you when you call yourself truth, when you say we are the truth, anything contrary to or critical of the church, anything that goes against the church is viewed, because it's truth, is viewed as evil against God's will.
Right.
So upon seeing those first few videos, right after I watched a couple of your videos, I jumped over to Michelle Cologne's um, interviews with Great Life Studios. I watched her part one, part two, went onto her website, And after just looking at the website for a little while, I was just, yeah, weeping, distraught, really distraught. Just, oh my God, it was fake the entire time. Of course it was. Of course it was. That's why they work so hard to make us fear the internet. That's why they make
Right.
us, that's why they have us just listen to their message. That's why they just have us listen to what they want to say, their narrative. And anything against that, even if it's somebody explaining that they were treated badly, that they were um, not looked favorably upon because they had children or they didn't have money or they couldn't give tithe, I thought to myself, oh, they're lying then. Because if the internet is slander and what these people are saying is factual, it's true, but the church keeps calling it slander, that in itself is a lie. To say that people on the internet are lying, but they're not, it can only mean one thing. The church is the one that's lying. The church is the one that's lying.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about, I guess we can, we'll talk more about what are the other things, the other teachings of the church that are incorrect. But as soon as you discover that the church lies, as soon as you realize that the church is deceptive and actually puts fear in people to ever even ask the right question or the wrong question, at that moment, you can just with confidence say, this is not a good organization. It's not a truthful organization. This organization has no business telling me how I can receive salvation. Absolutely not. So yeah, it was yeah, I was really hard to understand what to think at that moment, because I had dedicated my life to the church for 13 years, and all of a sudden I'm realizing that a lot of the behavior of the church was to conceal any other kind of narrative, any other kind of story. I was confused initially why they would do that so much, and why, if it is God's, if it's the church that contains God's love, I was confused why they would act that way. I didn't get it because even though I was realizing all these things, I still thought to myself, mother's love is like I've thought I felt it. So it was difficult to process that. Um, Obviously, I became really upset after that time. It was actually difficult. It was painful to listen to any more of your videos or any more of anybody else's interviews. It was really difficult to sit through them and listen to it because it was so ingrained in me, the message of the church.
Right.
Um, Actually, I would stop listening and I would learn and I would turn over to uh, like atheist podcasts. I watched atheist podcasts, people who just ridicule God and um, just to tell myself it's all wrong. Everybody's being lied to. None of it's true. It's not just me. I'm not the only one that was deceived. I'm not the only one that went through this. It's everybody in the world. Like it's all a lie. Because I
Right.
didn't want to confront the fact that I was lied to and I was deceived and I was made to do something with
Yeah.
without having full understanding. Um, I kept it to myself. I didn't talk to anybody, but every day, just as I'm driving, just shedding tears, not grimacing, but just like just remembering and just thinking and just crying.
It's heartbreaking.
It's it's heartbreaking. It's frightening. You don't know who you are. You lose your identity. Um,
Your purpose.
your purpose. What was it all for? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a very difficult time. And so to set the record clear, it's not like I turned into a WMSCOG hater or the Church of God hater right after that. I was still excited to go to the church. I was still happy to see my brothers and sisters. and be there. Um, when there was time for a Bible study, I would still listen and be joyful. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But that time that would wear off, and I would think to myself, oh, it's still not true. They still lied. They are still expecting me to accept what they're saying or what they're talking about. And even though I would have glimpses, moments of clarity, I would be reminded again of the just the deceptive ways that the church handles itself, how it threatens the members. It puts it on the members. If you ever want to look for yourself, if you ever want to investigate us, just know it's like eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You're gonna die. You're gonna kill yourself if you
Yep.
ever for a second question the story that we gave you.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just it's not something that I could sit with. So for a couple weeks I kept it to myself, but I finally ended up telling my wife, "Hey, I just want to let you know that video with Adam and Kayleen in it. I actually watched it." And she's like, "Are you kidding me? I've been wanting to watch it. I've been wanting to watch that ever since it came out, but I kept telling myself, don't look at it, don't look at it, because that's what the church tells you." So she said, "You know what?" She was like, she was she was happy that she had essentially permission. I had told her, "Hey, I watched the video. I'm looking at the church's history. It's not looking good. It's not getting better. So I think you should start to look as well." And man, if you know my wife Ivana, she is the best studier I've ever seen. So the very next day, she's sending me a bunch of links and a bunch of, you know, Corey, the one from New York,
Yep.
or other Great Life Studios videos, or the Pit podcast, and it's all just coming down, coming down, coming down. And yeah, we both are confused. We're both um, really upset. She endured a lot of things with the overseers that were in Salt Lake for a long time. She bit her tongue in many instances because obedience is better than sacrifice,
Yep.
and she never questioned. She never pushed back. She just accepted whatever was she was asked to do. And in one particular instance, just for a picture, a photo, I don't know if you may have been there, but in West Jordan, we got some, some certificate for something. And
Yes. In the city hall.
yes, she was holding our child and our son, who was probably like one and a half, not walking yet. She had handed her our son over to the overseer's wife, and hey, you get in the picture too. So she put our baby down on the gravel. It was gravel, and just ran over, and just this child was start crawling around in the gravel just so we can get a picture.
It wasn't next to a road, was it?
It was not a main road, but there was a where the courthouse was. You know there was pavement road where somebody would drive. We essentially, we don't care
Yeah.
wherever we can get the best picture. That's where we're gonna take the picture, even if it's in the
Right.
middle of the road. So it was close by a road. Um, Actually, I think she'll correct me. It was most likely actually on the road. Yeah. Um, she what she had been holding back for years, and she hated herself for, it just came out and it just exploded out. And yeah, yeah, she held back a lot, and she was just ultimately relieved that um, to find out that this is not a true church, it's a fake church, and in fact it's a cult. And um, it was a yeah, it was a difficult time for us. We were both speaking about what we can possibly do, how we could be so foolish that we just accepted whatever they told us. We kind of we did blame ourselves a lot for bringing our families into this, making our children suffer through this, all the 5 a.m.s, all the preaching meetings, all the big family moments that we missed. It just came tumbling down. We did it because we thought it was the truth. But when you realize that it, in fact, is 100%, 1000% a cult, it's enraging. And every feeling somebody has when they get out is 1000% justified. Um,
Absolutely.
so, so then we were making the plan. Okay, well, it's a cult, 100%. So what can we do? What can we do? Um,
Yeah.
uh, well, this came after realizing of many things. Like, okay, so the internet is not the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's a claim that many different cults say about the internet, because
Yes.
what exposes cults? The internet. So
Information,
information,
context.
yeah, context. So of course they're going to go against that. Um, the church is lying about their history. They're lying to members, and those members are also giving lies to other people, the people that they bring in. Um, you know, finding so all the education we received, the vaccination Bible studies,
Yeah.
Ansang and Sangil Jha having children, to realize that at some point this was also a slander. But now it's, after a while it's been revealed, so it's normal. It's common knowledge.
It's doctrine now.
It's doctrine now. The NCPCOG, at one point it was slander, but now it's known. The three missing chapters, at one point it's still considered slander if you talk about it without their particular explanation behind it. Um, the interpretation of the New Jerusalem and the issue of the head covering of the brides, the book that An Sang Hong wrote about God the Mother not existing. Us understanding these ones and seeing it without the church's explanation, their their added explanation to each one of these points, seeing it just in a vacuum, if you will, we realize it's a cult. Oh my
Seeing
God,
it
it's a
in
cult.
the original context that it was supposed to be read in, which needs no explanation. That's what the words are there for. That is the explanation. You don't need an explanation for an explanation. The words in the book is the explanation. Yeah.
Yeah. So um, at that time, so we said to each other, so yeah, we can't keep going. It's impossible. We cannot keep going. We're lying to ourselves if we keep going. So
Right.
we made the plan. This was, middle of March, kind of towards the end of March, and we started to realize that, oh man, the feasts are coming up, Passover's coming up,
Yep.
and if, as you well know, and anybody listening knows, who always works before the Passover?
Satan.
Satan. Satan is always afoot right before the Passover. So we spoke to ourselves and we said, well, if we leave now, what will they say? Oh, they were deceived by the devil.
Yep.
They were deceived by the devil, and they fell for it. God, they shouldn't have fell for it. It's so obvious. It's before the Passover. Why would you leave before Passover? So we said, okay, let's stick it out for another 2 months, almost 2 months, because it's not just Passover. It's Passover, it's unleavened bread, and then it's Resurrection Day.
Yep.
So for the good of everybody, we thought, let's not leave before Passover. Let's show that we kept everything and that we did everything. Um, but the last day was going to be the Resurrection Day.
Right.
Um, it was really difficult. I don't know how you did it, to remain in the church knowing that it was a cult.
It was very
Um,
painful.
yeah, yeah. I think I preached one or two times, and I was like, for once, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, the people at the door, you guys make way more sense than I do, than I ever have." I'm like, now I understand why you know, the good-hearted response from people at the door about Jesus being love, about Jesus caring, about Jesus not caring about certain things and to be legalistic. It just made perfect sense. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But not to not raise suspicion, I had to keep it to myself for some
Of
time.
course. Of course.
Um, so yes, I'd spoken to you. I'd spoken to a couple other people that had left the church. Finally, I allowed myself to speak with them, and I was telling myself, okay, let's ride out the rest of the this time not making any noise and just slowly fade out. Of
Yep.
course, in that time, uh, I had been asked to meet with the overseer multiple times. Hey, I think you should be preaching more. I think something's wrong with your faith. Um, and I was
You're
thinking,
the
yeah,
problem.
yeah, I was the problem. I was like, yeah, you're right, you're right. I realized what this place actually is, and yes, I have no faith for this place. So it was still, I was still nervous because, oh man, they're noticing. I would pray outwardly because I was also praying in the church,
Yep.
but when it was time for silent prayer, I wouldn't be praying. I would just keep it to myself, and yeah, I just would just wait in silence. Actually, the that Passover, um, it was, Passover used to be a really amazing and marvelous day.
Yes.
Um, so right after after eating the bread and drinking the wine, we had a time for prayer, and I just inside I told myself, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, God. I tried. I really did try. I tried to know you. I tried to follow you, but I ended up in this place. Please forgive me. Um, so yeah, I thought on the biggest day of my faith, let me just apologize to God. Um, yeah, and the next thing was, okay, we're done with the major feast. The day of resurrection is approaching. It's fast at hand. And I asked my wife, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And that was just going to be the next hurdle for us.
And that is all the time we have today, folks. No, really though. That we'll talk about it in part two, because there's a whole lot more we want to discuss, and I think that is a perfect place to end it for now. Uh, Thank you, Eric, so much for coming on here. I know it's not easy. I know putting yourself out there, putting your story out there is it's not easy at all, and especially because we love the people in that place. I know they
Mhm.
say things about us all the time, but realistically, if we didn't love or care about the members in that place, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Mhm.
I mean, we could easily just be spending time doing other things. Like, we're not making any money off of this. We're not getting any clout from this. If anything, we're getting harassment, right?
Sure.
Like, so, the reason we're doing this is because we want to be there for the members. We want to be there for them, let them know we care, let them know we haven't forgot about them, that we're doing well, that we love them and care for them. So, yeah. So next time, if you want to join us for part two of Erick's interview, it's going to be awesome. He's going to go into quite a bit of detail of no spoilers, but he's going to go into quite a bit of detail after the aftermath, if you will, of leaving. And yeah, again, thanks, Eric, for coming on, and we'll see you on the
Thank
next
you.
one. God bless.
Thank you for hosting me.